I had the feeling, maybe it's because I'm just coming from Sesshin. Few other people here and on screen also sat the Sesshin. But when I was naming the names, it's like they're all here. Everyone's here with us, and we're all here with them. And time and space, and I mean it's just us, and it's you guys on the screen, but the whole world's here. I mean, it's really true. So our practice is important. If we're concerned about the state of the world, if we've dedicated ourselves to love, which I figure we all have in one way or another, the Brahma Viharas, the four immeasurables, are wonderful practices for right now. And I don't know if you all saw the newsletter that just came out today, the Dharma Heart Zen one, but Spirit Rock is focusing on the Brahma Viharas right now too, which seems to me like, of course, kindness, compassion, joy, sending and wishing joy for everyone, and equanimity. What beautiful things to pick up. And of course, it includes us. So one thank you to Debbie and Marilyn for leading us in loving kindness. And Thursday, I think it's Sally and Kristen will be leading us in compassion, which we'll also do tonight, and it'll be fun to share with the Sangha in this way and see what everybody brings forward and what we bring forward together. Here's a quote. I can't remember where I got it from. I write things down and then I should know better. But they are immeasurable. They're called the Brahma Viharas, the four immeasurables, the cultivation of the boundless heart. Immeasurable because if you practice them, they will grow in you every day until they embrace the whole world. You will become happier, and everyone around you will become happier too. Loving kindness. I thought Tova Green, who practices at San Francisco Zen Center, and we just finished a Jizo class together. She sent me a poem. She said, "This is one of my favorite poems for these times. It's called Small Kindnesses." I thought I'd share it. Sometimes you think these things have to be big. It's like loving kindness. Well, it's by Danusha Limaris. I've been thinking about the way when you walk down a crowd. I've been thinking about the way when you walk down a crowded aisle, people pull in their legs to let you by. Or how strangers still say bless you when someone sneezes, a leftover from the bubonic plague. Don't die, we are saying. And sometimes when you spill lemons from your grocery bag, someone else will help you pick them up. Mostly, we don't want to harm each other. We want to be handed our cup of coffee hot and to say thank you to the person handing it. To smile at them and for them to smile back. For the waitress to call us honey when she sets down the bowl of clam chowder and for the driver in the red pickup truck to let us pass. We have so little of each other now, so far from tribe and fire, only these brief moments of exchange. What if they are the true dwelling of the holy? These fleeting temples we make together when we say, "Here, have my seat." Go ahead. You first. I like your hat. Small kindnesses. We are not powerless in this world. So just to review, loving kindness, Maitri, the intention and capacity to offer joy and happiness. The word Maitri has its roots in the word mitra, which means friend. I love that the future Buddha is called Maitreya Buddha. It's the Buddha of friendliness. So that world we're bringing into existence moment after moment. Just here, please have my seat. May I help you pick up your spilled lemons? Compassion, which we're going to do today. Karuna, the intention and capacity to relieve and transform suffering and to lighten sorrows. Say more about that. Compassion is together, calm is together with, and passion is to suffer, together with suffering. I thought, since Sesshin with Everyday Zen, Norman Fisher was leading the Sesshin, and I found a lecture that he gave in 2010 on compassion. It's one of the four immeasurables. So I thought I would share some of his words and do a little commentary. And then I thought, because I think we'll have time, we'll do a little Tonglen practice, which is a beautiful compassion practice. Compassion is to feel other people's pain, other people's suffering. So compassion, in a way, at first glance, seems like a bad idea. Why would you want to do that? To seek for something that is unpleasant, like suffering, seems really twisted and strange. Seems kind of unnatural. Take care of yourself. There's so much suffering out there. There's too much suffering out there. These days, it can feel pretty overwhelming. Why in the world would you want to turn towards suffering? Yet, most people have the idea that compassion is a good thing, right? I mean, I want to be a compassionate person. You want to be a compassionate person? You want to be a compassionate person? It's so beautiful. So we like compassion, even though we are all of you, we all understand compassion is opening ourselves to other people's pain. Think, what would we do without practice? You know, what would we do without the capacity just to sit down in the midst of our own joy and suffering, much less to think that we could open to the suffering of the world or the person next to us, just to sit down on a cushion and breathe, or to sit down in a chair, or to lay down. Breathing in, breathing out. Norman Fisher says, the reason people like the idea of compassion is because the feeling of compassion is so close to the feeling of love. We understand somehow that the two are completely interrelated and that they depend on each other. In fact, love depends on compassion because you can't love someone if you're not willing to be there with them in their suffering. It's like, oh, that was really fun. I liked you when you were fun and lively, but this is kind of a bummer. You've got a little suffering in your life right now. I think maybe I'll just go find somebody who's a little more fun. I was thinking, I think we often feel that way about ourselves. You were a lot easier to be with the other day. It's not so easy to be with you right now. Maybe I'll just distract myself or whatever we do. Just being willing to feel someone's suffering, if you can care about them, that is already love, right? Just to be willing to love yourself, no matter what you bring, no matter how you show up, no matter whether you're angry or sad or raging or despondent or distracted or restless. What is it to just be with ourselves and the world exactly where we are? That's actually a pretty radical idea, especially in this culture. Compassion, in a way, even though it is associated with suffering, feels good because it already is love. So oddly, love and compassion and what's pleasant and what's painful seem to already be closely associated to the point of almost being the same thing. We make these distinctions, Norman Fisher says, because we believe that thinking and feeling are characterized by opposites. It's the only way you can find something, right? Is it must be good or it must be bad. I must like it or I must dislike it. Distinction and opposition are how we experience things. It's how we codify things. It's how we name things. It's how we make sense of the world. It's how our brains and our dualistic eyes see. But the closer we look at our actual experiences, the less distinct and the less firm these different distinctions are. If we are caught by them, before feeling them deeply enough and experiencing them deeply enough, by being attached to what is pleasant and being averse or afraid of what is painful, we could really mess ourselves up. Practice. What an amazing thing to sit down and be willing to feel. And the more you feel, the more you know whatever these dense feeling states are and whatever you think you are and you aren't and whatever you're projecting out there, it becomes more and more aerated and moving and alive. And the more that happens, it's just not so easy to nail down anymore. Which then, of course, the mind can get really confused, and then it can go running back to its safe places of habitual patterns. But then you get to experience the suffering of that, and you get to be with that, because then you simultaneously have to be with that and your great big heart that doesn't want to leave anything out. Because you look in the mirror and you can see your own suffering, or you look at somebody you care about, your kid, And you wish they'd stop, teenagers, you wish they'd stop being what they're being. And you look at them and you just know they're suffering. Or you look at the news and you think, what are those crazy people doing? How could they do that? But if you look really deeply, there's just so much suffering. And then you just want to love people, because even though you don't know how, in the end, your heart doesn't know what else to do, because hate doesn't work and judgment feels small. You just let it tenderize you and you be with the suffering. And the amazing thing is that the more you're with the suffering, it's not what you think it is. All the fear that if you're with this, it's going to overwhelm you or it's going to be a real downer. In fact, it just keeps opening. And then it closes, but then it opens. And you just keep saying yes, because it doesn't feel so good to say no, ultimately. Once you get the hang of the complexity and richness of your human experience, you realize that things are just not that simple. Self-protection and grasping pleasant feelings turns out to be bad strategies for happiness. Whereas opening up the self to feeling, all feelings, whether your own or those of others, pleasant as well as unpleasant, turns out to be a much richer and truer way to live. Feels more alive. So generating compassion, which allows us to feel suffering, is a necessary practice for opening ourselves to real love and genuine happiness. I will also add, I think it's why it's a life of vowing, because I can want to run away as much as anybody else. But I've already said, and I've said to you, and I've said to myself, and I've said in my Rakusu, no, I want to stay. A bodhisattva stays. Then you sort of box yourself into this love thing. And nobody ever said it was going to be easy. You just keep coming back. And then the other amazing thing is well, you've sort of got your Buddha vows, and then you've got Dharma, which says, stay, come back. And then you've got Sangha, and then you've got all these other people who are trying to do the same thing. And when I forget, one of you remembers, and you say something to me and you tenderize my heart, and I say something that tenderizes you, and people show up. There's all these people on screen, and there's people here, and everybody, whatever you think you're doing here, well, one, you showed up, and two, I think human beings just want to love, and we want to be loved. So go figure. We just keep helping each other. In studying the four unlimited abodes, we keep coming back over and over to Buddha's central insight that the difference between self and others is more a conceptual habit than an ultimate reality. It turns out, quite strangely and paradoxically, that the most selfish thing is the most altruistic thing. If you really want to be selfish about your own happiness, love everybody. That's the way to be happy. It's a strange thing, but that is really what it comes down to in actual experience. And then he goes on to talk about the Heart Sutra and Avalokiteshvara, because the Heart Sutra is the Bodhisattva of compassion. Avalokiteshvara telling us how to do this. Because if you think you are a self over here, and there is another self over there, which is of course what we all think, sooner or later we're going to run into our karma, your karma, my karma, our likes, our dislikes. And then we're going to have to take a breath. And the Heart Sutra says, when you do that, when you come back to this vast body, heart, mind, that the Heart Sutra says, no eyes, no ears, no nose, no tongue, no body, no mind, no sight, no sound, no smell, no taste. It just deconstructs everything, all your ideas. It says, when you really take the backward step and breathe, you really, if you look deeply, can't tell where one person begins and the other ends. It's like that looks like Marilyn on the screen. Hi, Marilyn. And she looks like she's over there in a little box. But she's also right here, and we're right there with her. And we're all doing this together. And we think Ukraine is over there, and it is over there, but it's not over there. And that's why these teachings keep saying, look more deeply, because otherwise we're going to keep doing the same old thing, which we're going to do anyway. But maybe we can disrupt it a little bit and open it up a little bit and love each other a little more. Suffering, and I don't know if this is how this is true, but it's fun for me to sort of riff off of Norman and then to go back to Norman. It's like, suffering and the end of suffering are empty. This is the great secret of compassion and what makes a wide and deep feeling for the suffering of other people and for all of us collectively sustainable. Avalokiteshvara sees the pain of the world and hears the cries of the world, and yet she remains serene because her hearing and her vision are not impeded by limited objects. She doesn't get caught there. That's the Avalokiteshvara in us. I get caught, I take a breath, and I remember. And then I get caught, and then I remember. She knows that there are no eyes, no ears, no nose, no tongue, no object, no sight, no sound, nothing to impede the free flow of love. It's just ideas. Even suffering does not impede it. Her heart is wide open. She feels all the suffering. But she also understands that it's okay because it's not what she thinks. Everything is lightened by and sustained by emptiness or fullness or boundlessness. The unbearable is bearable. The pain is the love. All things are suffering, even the things that don't look like they are, and all suffering is peace. That's a Norman. It's not what you think. That's why this is a practice. That's why you sit down and you feel the earth and you feel your beating heart and you begin to know it's a one heart that's beating together. Compassion is the way we connect with our own lives. It's the way that we connect with each other. And far from being something to fear, suffering turns out to be our greatest human treasure, and it brings us closest to love. It would seem kind of strange to say, oh, I like the idea of love and kindness. And I really hope the future Buddha is the Buddha of loving kindness. But I think I want it to be knowable and controllable and doable. It's really a faith practice. You just give yourself over and over and over. So let's do a little, Tonglen is a Tibetan based practice. It's called sending and receiving. Tonglen is if you've practiced with Pema Chodron or read her books, it's really the base of what she teaches. Tonglen feels completely counterintuitive because it actually asks you to take in other people's suffering. Again, it's like, why would you do that? So when you do Tonglen practice, you always start with, if you think you're doing it, you're going to get overwhelmed. And even if you could, if you meet resistance or fear, you just meet your own resistance and fear and you breathe with it. Because these practices are never about trying to push you someplace or into something. It's about opening and meeting yourself in the world right where you are. So in Tonglen practice, let me just describe it. The first thing you do is the way the Tibetans describe is you flash on something big, like the ocean or the sky. For me, I ground in my Zazen body, which is my breath body, because I know it's me, but it's not me. And then we'll begin with calling to mind someone that you care about who is ill in some way. Physical pain, emotional pain, spiritual pain. Just bring someone to mind. It doesn't have to be someone big and hard. It could just be, you see who comes to mind. And then what you want to begin to do is, the Tibetans, the way they describe it, is that you completely begin to breathe in their suffering. And the visualization, which you can do or not do, I don't always do it this way, is it's dark and heavy and hot. You just breathe in their suffering, but it's not you. You're breathing it in into this vast body of love and kindness. And then you breathe out light and healing and love and send it to them. And then you breathe in their suffering. And you breathe out healing and love. Just spend a few breaths doing this. And if at any point you meet resistance or fear or something comes up, just begin doing Tonglen for yourself, breathing in your own resistance and fear. It's dark and heavy and hot, or whatever way it appears to you, and send yourself lightness and kindness and love. And then if you're able, go back to your friend. If not, stay with you. Okay? Breathing in and breathing out. Releasing that visualization, let's begin to do it for everyone in the room and in the Zoom room. Let's begin to do it for each other. Breathing in whatever pain is here, physical illness, sorrows, wounds, despondency. And then just let flow out of you. It's almost through your cells and across time and space, sending out healing love and energy to everyone here in our in-person and Zoom Sangha. Breathing each other in and out. And then begin to extend it. And extend it to the edges of the walls. Extend it down through the floor and up through the ceiling. And let it extend and extend and extend till you are breathing out your neighborhood. If you're here, breathing in and out the town of Sebastopol, and then let it go in the 10 directions. Beyond anything you can imagine, you are breathing in dark, hot, and heavy pain and suffering and sending out love and peace and healing and whatever is needed in each particular situation, trusting it's being received in exactly the way that Buddha knows is most skillful. Breathing in and out. If you meet resistance or overwhelm, just come back to your own body and breath. Breathe with yourself. This self. And then let's just breathe with this self. Your own pain, your own discomfort, your own suffering. Breathing in and accepting and being so intimate and so close and so tender with this self that is you. And then, almost on a cellular level, imagine lighting up this self, sending love and light and kindness, really deeply, deeply wishing yourself well, breathing in and out. And then let arise in your awareness words of dedication. Come back to what would you like to dedicate this practice to? Could be a person, could be a situation in the world, could be to yourself, but just I am here with this suffering that is love. Suffering transformed and transforming into love.